A cinematic masterpiece? Or a complete clusterfuck? Let's take a look. Okay, everybody, today we're going all the way back to 1986 to take a look at Maximum Overdrive. To some, a little irreverent comedy horror that will always be loved. And to others, well, giant piece of shit. But before we go any further, before we look into this little gem, we are going to go at once and again, and as always, to the trailer.
Hi, my name is Stephen King. I've written several motion pictures, but I want to tell you about a movie called Maximum Overdrive, which is the first one I've directed. Wow.
What in the dickens is going on around here?
A lot of people have directed Stephen King novels and stories. And I finally decided if you want something done right, you ought to do it yourself.
Who was driving it? I don't know.
Curtis! It's coming after us!
It was my first picture as a director, and you know something? I sort of enjoyed it.
What is going on?
I don't know!
I just wanted someone to do Stephen King right.
You want a war? You got one.
I just want to get the hell out of here.
So come and spend some time with me and my friends at the Dixie Boy. Spend some time in the dark.
Please don't let us be in the dark.
Help me.
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you. And that's a promise.
You're going to get us in an awful lot of trouble, man.
We already in trouble.
Maximum terror.
Jesus coming and he is.
Maximum King.
Maybe tomorrow will be our world again.
Dino De Laurentiis presents Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive.
All right, this puppy was directed by Stephen King. Stephen King? Yes, Stephen King, writer extraordinaire. Yep, he actually got behind the camera for one motion picture, and this was it. So, I don't have a list of movies to give to you that he's done before, but we all know what Stephen King has done. I mean, he's written so many of the big-time novels. He's done stuff like, Carrie, and Salem's Lot, and The Shining, and Christine, and all those classics that we all really know. Was I ever a big Stephen King fan? I like a lot of the flicks. Don't really own any of his books. It is what it is. He was always kind of like Bob Dylan to me. You know what I mean? I get why he has this big place in history, but I don't really listen to him. Is what it is. Let's get going to the cast. Okay, everybody, playing Bill, we have Emilio Estevez. He's made quite a little career for himself behind the camera, but we're talking about acting, so let's get to it. We're talking about he's been in movies like Repo Man and Stakeout and The Young Guns, of course, everybody remembers that, and St. Elmo's Fire and Wisdom and Free Jack and Loaded Weapon and Bobby and The Mighty Ducks. And of course, to me, two movies that I will always love. One, Men at Work. Fucking brilliant little comedy. And number two, of course, The Outsiders. How could you not? It was actually another flick that was kind of outsider-ish called That Was Then, This Is Now. Whatever. Almost forgot about that. But, long career, been around for a while. Famous family. Is what it is. Okay, playing Brett. Laura Harrington. Oh my God, she was cute. I always thought of her like a cuter version of Sigourney Weaver. Is what it is. Let's get going. She was in stuff like What's Eating Gilbert Grape and Paulie. But really, she's done mostly TV, Quantum Leap and Equal Justice. And she was on Providence. I don't think she's acted for quite some time. Actually, I haven't seen her floating around. But she was on the scene for a while, had like a 15, 16-year run. Did what she did. How can you knock it? Let's keep moving. A face that popped up so much back in that time. Yeardley Smith playing Connie. Come on, as soon as you see the face and you hear the voice, you're like, fucking, I remember her. Let's do this. She was in stuff like The Legend of Billie Jean, and on TV, and Brothers, and Murphy Brown, and Hearn's Head, and Dharma and Greg, and she's done tons and tons and tons of voice work, and really what she'll probably be most famous for, honestly, is being the voice of Lisa Simpson from The Simpsons. And she's been doing that shit forever now. So, making a great career, making good cash, sitting back talking into a microphone. That's a fucking racket, folks, right there. Playing Hendershot. Bubba Hendershot, actually, is the amazing Pat Hingle. Come on, come on. Gotta love Pat Hingle. I think I talked about it way back when we did The Gauntlet, for Christ's sake. And actually, that'll pop up in a minute. Anyway, let's get going. Ton of shit. We're talking about he was in stuff like Hang 'em High, and of course The Gauntlet, which I mentioned, and Sudden Impact, and Going Berserk, and Brewster's Millions, and Baby Boom, and Batman, and he was in The Grifters, in the remake of Shaft, in about 8 gazillion television shows, which I'm not even going to take the time to get into right now because we'll be here all goddamn day. But Pat Hingle, legendary, legendary. Okay, playing young Deke was Holter Graham. Let's get going. He was in stuff like Hairspray and Fly Away Home and The Curse, and he was on TV and, you know, Rescue Me and Law and Order and Army Wives, and he actually does, you know, some voice work and stuff like that. So, floating around, kind of a small career, never went on to anything big that would blow your mind or nothing, but he was doing what he was doing. Playing Hardy. It was Frankie Faison. Been around a while, folks. Let's kick this shit into gear. We're talking about he was in stuff like Coming to America and White Chicks, fucking Cat People, which I'm going to review some point because I love that motion picture, and Hanky Panky, and Chud, which we already talked about at one point, and The Money Pit, and Mississippi Burning, and Do the Right Thing. So, been around for a long time, pops up in a lot of places. You might recognize his face, you're probably not going to recognize his name, and he was never a big star, but he was out there doing his thing. And playing Brad. Oh my God, every time I see him pop up in a movie, my face just fucking smiles. We're talking about Leon Rippy. Let's do this. Anyway, he was in stuff like Universal Soldier and Stargate and The Arrival and Raw Deal and Firestarter, for fuck's sake, and No Mercy and The Patriot, and a movie that, if it was only made a couple years earlier, I would be reviewing on this fucking channel, and that was Eight-Legged Freaks. Ah, man, my son, when he was young, fucking, we must have watched that thing like 4 million times. It was so awesome. 2002, though, folks, not on my channel, but great little movie. You should watch it, check it out, find it, dig into it. It was a fun ride. Okay, everybody. As always, I'm going to try to give you this story in 90 seconds or less so we can keep it fast, keep it moving, and keep it going so we can get to, that's right, the summation where we would all much rather be. Anyway, let's go. There's a comet. It's going past Earth, and it's cruising on by, and we are about to go into its tail. And once we go into its tail, weird shit starts happening. Machines start acting up. Computers start acting up. They start doing whatever they want. They start doing things that are harmful and mean and cruel and inhumane to other human beings. You have this one place, it's called the Dixie Boy Diner. And in it, we got young Bill. Fresh out of jail and a little bit of trouble, and now working for a total piece of shit asshole boss who sometimes doesn't pay him with the threat of just having his ass taken back to the joint. You also have this young girl. Her name is Brett, and she's hitchhiking up and down the coast, and all of a sudden she finds herself in the very same Dixie Boy Diner. You got this young married couple, and they're driving around, and all of a sudden the world goes fucking crazy around them too. And where do they run to? The Dixie Boy Diner. And finally you got young Deke, who's dad. Well, he works at the Dixie Boy Diner, and when all hell breaks loose with him too, where does he run to? You fucking guessed it. The Dixie Boy Diner. And inside of there, these people are held hostage by a revolving list of 18-wheelers that are making them fight for their lives and at other times enslaving them to pump some gas. All that you know is that the weirdest thing is taking place where everything that's mechanical and machine has turned on mankind. Who's controlling it? Who's making it happen? What's their intentions? What do they want? Who the fuck knows? Obviously, you guessed the comet thing had something to do with it. But that's really the whole story of this motion picture, folks. That's the whole setup to this thing. There's not much to go on. There's not really a story I can give you. There's nothing I can do except walk you through it, which would be pointless. I've just painted it out. Comet, Earth, machines taking over, people held up in a diner. It is what it is. Okay, everybody, let's get to why this motion picture works. Or does this motion picture work? I think that really depends on the viewer. Really depends on you. If you like movies that take comedy and horror and a little bit of action and smack them all together, this will probably work for you. You know, if you like things like Shaun of the Dead or Zombieland, that kind of shit, this one will be like, okay, I know where this is going, and I can enjoy it. If you like, you know, your peanut butter from your chocolate separated, then this might not be the flavor for you. Maximum Overdrive is one of those motion pictures that really doesn't try to hide what it is. And that's a thankful thing. About 2 seconds in, you know where this motion picture is going. As soon as they give you the opening scroll over the little picture of a comet and they tell you what's going on, you're like, oh, okay, I know where we're going with this thing. 2 seconds later, when you see Stephen King himself walk up to a bank and the ticker tape above the bank is saying, fuck you, and he goes to the goddamn ATM machine and puts his card and it says, asshole, asshole, asshole. Right then and there, that 7-second opening tells you completely where this motion picture is going to go and where it's going to take you. And if anything surprises you after that, it shouldn't, because they're basically handing to you on a platter where this direction is headed. But the question remains, is where it's headed good or bad? Let's take a look. The cast really does a good job. It's hard. It's not an easy task to make a movie and make characters for a movie that are working as comedy and action and supposedly a little bit of horror and make them all come together and work. Sometimes you have people trying to pass off the horror too much in a comedy and it just looks out of place, and vice versa. But everybody basically keeps a solid grasp on what their characters are supposed to be doing, and they pull it off well. Emilio Estevez has been around for a long time, folks. He was young at this point, but the kid knows how to act and does a great job. You know he knows comedy. We've seen him in comedies. Men at Work is fucking amazing. We've seen him in dramas. We've seen him in just about everything in between. And here you have a little amalgamation of everything smacked into one, and he pulls it off. Laura Harrington, she's great as the girlfriend in this, the hitchhiker tough chick. You gotta love her. She pulls it off. Pat Hingle is amazing playing the boss, because a lot of times, sometimes he plays a heavy or he plays a affable guy who's a friend, and whatever it is, he nails it. It shows you the guy can pull off the job at hand. Whether he can be a heavy or we can be the goofy friend, it doesn't make a difference. The guy can act. And around those guys, you have a whole cast of characters that maybe not be like front row stars, or maybe not as big a name as Emilio Estevez, or even maybe as well known as a Pat Hingle, but they all do their job, they all carry this flick, and they do their job well. Now let's get to Stephen King. How did he do as a director on this thing? Actually, not bad. I'm not going to tell you he's the best at framing a scene, or he's the best at keeping a perfect fucking look. Maybe not. But I've seen a lot worse by a lot of people with a lot more experience. So actually, he did a pretty damn good job for a guy who only directed one motion picture in his career. Are there flaws with the movie? Of course there's flaws with this movie. There's loopholes all over this goddamn motion picture that make no sense whatsoever. For example, why is the married couple driving around in their car? Apparently their car hasn't been taken over and infected like every other vehicle on fucking planet Earth, but don't question it, folks. Why do stuff like that? And there's little grating things. Like sometimes a lot of the characters shout and yell and scream. You feel like you're watching a fucking Rob Zombie flick or something. And you're just like, oh man, tone that shit down. But past those flaws, you know, there aren't that many things wrong with it. If you sit there and remember in your mind that this motion picture really shouldn't be or isn't a motion picture. This is a comic book come to life. This would have been really even fun just to be a slightly shorter segment inside of the creep show flick. You know what I'm talking about? It would have just fit in there perfectly. Because everybody in this motion picture, the situation in this motion picture, the look of this motion picture is a fucking comic book. From the big truck with the goblin face, from the way everybody acts, because everybody acts like a caricature of somebody. Nobody's playing a real human being in this motion picture. They're playing a character of what you would think somebody would be if they're a gas station attendant in the middle of nowhere, or they're an evil asshole boss in the middle of nowhere, or they're a slightly neurotic wife who's always packed about everything in the middle of nowhere. They're not real. They don't even try to be real. They're just characters. They're just caricatures of those kind of people. Amplified, blown up. The only thing missing is that there's somebody isn't painting over all their faces and turning them into a piece of ink on a sheet of paper. That's the only difference. And I should probably mention the fact that obviously AC/DC music is just blasting all the way through this flick. And my God, does it fit. It's almost there as a reminder, like, we're here to have a good time, folks. This is just a party. Don't take this shit too seriously. The music works all the way through this motion picture. You hear their riffs coming in, you hear their vibe coming in, and it actually just works spot on for a motion picture like this. Would their music work in a lot of others? Probably not. But in this, it is just right. It's just crazy. You know AC/DC, it's heavy, it's a bit serious, it's a bit fun, it's a party. You got a grown man dressed as a little schoolboy, fucking hopping around playing his guitar, doing the fucking duck, all that kind of shit. The movie and the music go hand in hand. And may I say, by using the premise of all the machines around you coming to life, come on, let's all admit, it's kind of fun. Who hasn't sat in their car, especially back in the days before a fuel injection, turn it over, and you talk to the fucking thing, come on baby, light up, baby, or the goddamn thing stalls because you had a short in the wiring somewhere, and you're like, why do you gotta do this? Everybody at one point or another has yelled at or talked to a piece of machinery, and the idea in this motion picture that the machinery basically starts talking back and basically starts seeking vengeance, well, maybe it's them or control from above, who the fuck knows, but the whole premise is fun because it locks into that mindset that you had when you were 12 or 13 years old where, hey, anything's possible. Maybe, who knows? Could it happen? And this movie goes right down that lane. All right, folks, once and again, be good, take care, help a stranger, look out for a neighbor, be there for a friend, but above all else, never, ever take any shit from anybody. Take care.